Everybody, just to say that we don't have a clicker, so all the way through the presentation I'm going to be doing this. So if you wonder why, that's why. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you very much, WordCamp, for having me. Oh, thank you, because you're the WordCamp person in the room. So yes, let's do some room interaction first. Hands up if you love SEO. Hands up if you feel really confident about SEO. Okay, you can leave. Get out. Hands up if you put your hand up. No one did it. Okay, so today we're talking about how to make Google love your WordPress website. And essentially what I'm talking about is WordPress SEO. But I didn't want to put SEO in the title because it's kind of a dirty word. We've all had those emails from Sanjit telling us that greetings today, I can guarantee you a #1 ranking. And to be honest, many people think that the only way to succeed in search engine optimization is to play dirty, to break the rules, to try and trick Google and do nefarious things. But it's not true. I'm going to show you today how we can play by the rules and still get great results. So who am I? That was a fabulous introduction there, but I'm an SEO copywriter. I had to read it there, I should know this. I'm an SEO copywriter and consultant, and my background is in advertising, so I've worked with big brands like Kmart, Courage, and Telstra, helping them with their SEO. But I'm also a WordPress developer. That's how I started out, building sites, and I have built all my own sites as well. I have 8 WordPress sites. I can't seem to stop. I have a directory, a shop, a membership, a podcast. Yeah, I've got a few. So I've worked very hard on those sites, making sure that they rank well. So I'm one of these people who likes to do the thing rather than just talking about the thing. So my job now involves teaching small business owners, WordPress developers, copywriters, and designers how to DIY their SEO. Because anybody who's actually tried to engage an SEO consultant will know it's pretty damn expensive. Your average SEO consultant who's worth paying for will charge you about $1,000 a month. And for that, they will do probably an audit, they'll optimize a few pages, and then they'll work on building backlinks. But that's probably all they'll do. Yeah, and it's a lot of money. That's 12 grand a year before you've even started. So I'm all about empowering you to do it yourself. Now, usually when I do these presentations, I give out prizes. I have a few people who've been before. I have SEO cookies to the person who tweets the most tweets. But today I don't have any cookies. So that's probably why you all came. But I do promise, if you are the most prolific tweeter, I will send something in the post. Nice post. So tweet away, that's the hashtag, that's my Twitter doodah. Okay, so this is going to be a really, really short presentation because I can sum up WordPress SEO in one slide. I wonder who can guess what's going to be on this next slide. Install Yoast. Of course, that's all you need to do, isn't it? Just click the button, press install. I've done my SEO. And that's the problem I have with a lot of WordPress developers. Nobody in this room, of course, but a lot of WordPress developers tell their clients, I have done your SEO. It's done because I installed Yoast. And the business owner doesn't know any better. They just spend the rest of their life freaking out about not getting a green light on the traffic lights. And don't get me wrong, I love Yoast. I think Yoast is hilarious. If you've ever watched any of his YouTube videos, they're fabulous. I'm not sure he means to be hilarious, but I think they're great. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Yoast today, but it's not as simple as simply clicking install. Unfortunately, wouldn't it be great if it was? So this is what I'm going to cover off today. Obviously, SEO is a big topic, and there's a huge range of experience in the room. You have that guy up there who's super confident, who I did ask to leave, but he's still here, Paul. Get out? I'm joking. So I'm going to start with some basics, but obviously in the Q&A you can ask me your technical questions, put me on the spot, and I'll do my best to answer them. So we're going to cover off what SEO is and why it's important. Hopefully you know that. Here, the impact of hosting and domain choice. So Peter talked a little bit about that before. I'm going to argue with what Peter said. We're going to talk about integral setup steps, my top 10 plugins, easy content formatting, and what to consider if you are offering SEO as a service for your clients. Okay, we have a few more people in the room now. I'll just let everyone sit down and breathe. Sometimes in these presentations I forget to breathe and then I kind of go a bit wobbly over there, so I'll try and remember to breathe. So, you can all read the slide. Search engine optimization is the process of influencing the natural or organic results to ensure that your website pages rank well for your chosen keywords. There, it's easy. We all understand that. But what does that literally mean? Well, it means if you sell organic piglet jumpers, anybody in the room sell organic piglet jumpers? No. What you want is when someone goes to Google and they type in piglet jumpers, you come up on the first page. And it really is all about the first page. I've got some stats. Now, I believe that 99% of stats are made up on the spot, but I'm still going to read these out. And if you want me to verify them afterwards for you on Twitter, I will. So, Google now handles 3 trillion, I can't even say it, trillion searches a year. 70 to 80% of people ignore the paid ads. Sorry, Melinda Sampson. The first organic result will get you nearly 33% clicks. 75% of users never scroll past the first page. I think that one's a powerful one, and I think we all know that from our own experience. I'd rather retype in my search phrase and go to the second page. 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. Now that's crucial as well. What that means is that someone would rather go to Google and type in Nike than type in the extra 3 or 4 characters, Nike.com. It's easier to just type brand names into Google to type what we want. So SEO is kind of important. And this is why it's so important. And I'd say it's more important than pretty much every other type of marketing, except possibly email marketing. But obviously to get people on your list, you've got to get them to your site first. So SEO catches people when they're in search mode, when they want a thing. So if I am looking for an organic piglet jumper, I don't go on Facebook and wait and hope that a Facebook ad comes up about piglet jumpers. If I want that jumper, I don't sit on Instagram and hope that somebody posts a hashtag about that. If I want something, I go to Google and I type it in. And I'm in conversion mode. And the longer the phrase I put in, the more likely I am to convert. So what do I mean by that? Somebody who puts in copywriter. So I have the pleasure of ranking #1 in Australia for the word copywriter after Wikipedia. I don't think I'll ever beat them. But it's actually not that useful for me. And this is what's really important to understand about keywords. Ranking #1 for copywriter, what does that person want? Do they want to be a copywriter? Do they want copywriting training? Do they want books? Do they want a podcast? Are they a copywriter looking to compare themselves? All those things are no interest to me. They're not going to buy my services. But the person who types in financial services copywriter for website in Sydney, they want me. And if I can give them what they want, if I can serve their user intent, I can convert them. So it's not always a good idea to focus on short keywords. And obviously, if you are getting branded search, so people know you, they know your name, they know your business name, they are likely to find you. Yeah? So we don't care about those people quite so much. Obviously, we all want to rank for our own brand and our own name. We want people who want what we do, but don't know that we do it. That's what Google delivers to us. Okay? So that's why SEO is awesome. Okay, so what are the 3 pillars of SEO? Now, lots of people talk about off-site and on-site, but I talk about it slightly different. I think there are 3 crucial elements to SEO, and those are technical, how your site is built, what platform it's built on, where you host it, what domain name you choose, how fast it is, how responsive it is to different devices, crawlability. All those things are technical things, and they are the most important. They are the foundations. Without those solid foundations, you can blog till you're blue in the face, and you will never get anybody to your site. So this is where we, as WordPress developers, have a huge responsibility. Because if we don't have sites that are set up well, people will never succeed with SEO. So no pressure, but we need to get that bit right. The next is content, and we've all heard about this. Content is king. Write the blog and they will come. But the problem is they don't. They don't. I have people who blog 3 times a week for a year, and they're still wondering why they're not getting traffic, why people aren't converting. And often it's because they've got some tiny technical bug, or their site takes 38 seconds to load. So these are things we need to consider. So content is important. I'm going to cover that a little bit today. And the final thing is links. So these are links from other websites to our website, known as backlinks. So backlinks got a bit of a bad press. You may have heard of the Penguin algorithm update, which penalizes sites that have dodgy links pointing to them. That's not meant to impact normal people like you and me. It's meant to impact those people who do dodgy SEO, who create link farms, who put links from Russian porn sites to your site. That's what we're trying to get rid of. But for the average Joe, the Penguin algorithm won't impact you unless you've paid for links or used the dodgy SEO company. But links are important. Google sees a link from one website to another as a stamp of approval. So if Angela links to my site, Google goes, hey, Angela likes this site, it must be pretty good. And they build up your authority. So links, unless they're no-follow links, pass authority, or SEO juice, as I like to call it, through to your site. But not all links are created equally. We want to get links from high-authority sites. So a link from, say, the Sydney Morning Herald will be a lot more valuable than a link from your mum's blog. So that's just a way to think about it. So building links is worth doing. People talk more about earning links these days. People should just want to link to you. But unfortunately, you do have to work at it too. You do have to talk a bit more about that. And the final thing, which doesn't get its own circle because it's a little bit of a point for debate, is social media. So I believe that social media has an indirect impact on SEO. People argue different things. So what I mean by that is just because I have 40,000 followers doesn't automatically, that was a lie, doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to rank number 1. But obviously if I have 40,000 followers and I'm posting my content a lot, lots of people are going to visit my site. And what those people may do could influence SEO. So they may link to my content and they may share my content with other people. So links from social media don't count the same as links from other websites. Generally, they're no-follow, and Google kind of sort of ignores them a little bit, because obviously it would be so easy to manipulate if Facebook links were worth lots. We just post link, 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 link. I will take questions at the end, so write them down, and I'll do them at the end. So let's talk about fundamental first steps. The first is hosting. So we have a couple of hosting guys here today. The sponsors. So location is a factor. Obviously, the closer the host is to where your audience is, faster it will load. It's just simple, you know? So hosting locally is a good idea. Speed is everything. So fast servers, I'm sure VenueTrap will talk to you about that. Uptime, obviously, site's going down all the time. That's going to be a negative signal to Google. It's going to be that Google's going to think your site's not being well maintained. But one of the most important things to me is customer service, because things go wrong all the time. It just happens. And if you can't get someone on a phone or a live chat, we all know how hideous that can be. But I would say with this that I hosted overseas. I used Bluehost. I servers were in the US for 5 years. And I got to #1 ranking for over 300 keywords, #1 to 3, sorry. So, you know, I think choose a host that you trust and you love. That the host I have now, I'm with SiteGround. Sorry, we had this discussion. They were very ashamed of me. They're in Singapore. It's close enough. My site's pretty fast. So, you know, you have to weigh all these things up against cost and customer service. So, should you move to HTTPS? Who here is on a HTTPS? How's the SSL? Who here is thinking about moving or hasn't done it yet? Yes, you should. Yeah? Google does a lot of stuff and then changes its mind. It puts stuff out and it kills it a year later. It's a bit frustrating. And if you're kind of on the front edge of SEO, you do the thing, spend the time investing in it, and then they get rid of it again. And it can be a little bit frustrating because you've invested all that time. So, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought there. So, SSL is important. It's here to stay. Google announced that it was a ranking factor in 2014 in January. I moved my site back then, and I haven't noticed any significant increase in ranking, but I haven't decreased in ranking. So it's something we're all going to have to do. It's one of those things you just rip the plaster off, get it done. But you have to be careful because it is a site migration. You have to make sure that you set up redirects. You have to make sure that you check all your databases, your images are done. In WordPress, it's pretty easy. There's a plugin called Simple SSL, which I'm going to show you later, which kind of matches everything back up. And I do have a checklist on my site if you ever need to do HTTPS, but you should all be doing it. It's something you just have to do, whether you want to or not. So let's talk about domains. Now, those of you who are in Peter's session, he covered off some of this, so sorry, a tiny bit of double, but it's always good to hear it twice. Keep your domain as short as possible. Ensure it's easy to spell and easy to say. So my husband has a French business, and he named it Voulez-Vouloz. And the number of people who come to us and say, and the number of, we look at what people have typed in to find us, and they want to find us, but the things they've typed in are like Voulozilulu and things like that. It's a really stupid choice. Try not to use hyphens, so if your chosen domain name isn't available, don't just shove a hyphen in. People don't remember hyphens. I think you should always go for the .com, and I think you should always try and get your country extension as well. But I do not advocate buying every other extension. Empty domain names pointed at your site will do nothing for SEO. So by all means, no one else can buy them, but you're going to be in for an expensive ride, because there's something like 100 different extensions you can get now. So one thing I slightly disagree with Peter is including your keywords in your domain name, in your URL, in your domain name, no, sorry, not your URL. I think if it works, if it's brandable, then do it. But for example, if a classic tradie thing is to call themselves Window Cleaner Sydney. Now the problem is, you might rank for that, but also, how am I supposed to know that if someone types in Window Cleaner Sydney, someone else might rank above you? It's not a brandable name, it's not memorable. I think it gives you a tiny advantage. Everything else being equal, having your keyword in your domain name might give you a slight advantage. But I would choose a brandable, memorable keyword over a keyword-saturated domain name every single time. I hope that makes sense. I didn't say that very well. So make sure it's reputable, available, and memorable. What do I mean by reputable? You need to make sure that it hasn't been blacklisted. So there are heaps of tools online where you can check who owned the domain before. Because listed, they discard the domain, and they start again. And if you buy that domain, you inherit the penalty. And you're starting from a bad position. Also make sure it's available everywhere. There's a great tool called Name Checker, that will show you what extensions are available, but also is it available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those other things. There's nothing worse than registering a domain and then finding someone else has it in Twitter and someone else has it in Instagram. And then you have to start messing around with spellings. I don't believe you should use acronyms. I think it should just be clear and easy to remember. Okay, does anyone have any questions at this stage before I move on to the 6 essential steps? Anybody? Oh, yes. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it, so I'll tweet it after this with the hashtag. It's something like Black Domain Checker or something. They're all called really boring stuff. But yeah, one thing you can check is Wayback Machine. I have that tool and see what was there before. I hate looking at my old website, so sorry. But yeah, I'll tweet that after this. Sorry, I should have included it. Okay, so 6 essential steps. So this is what I would expect every WordPress developer to do. And I don't think this is an extra charge. I'm going to talk about this at the end of the presentation, what you should charge for, what you shouldn't. So obviously one of the things that we can do in reading is set this search engine visibility checkbox. Has everyone seen this one before? And so many developers check it and forget to uncheck. I had a lovely client come on my course. She'd had her site live for 12 months, and this box had been checked, and no one remembered to uncheck it. So that wasn't very good. So by all means, check it while you're setting your site up, but make sure to uncheck it. The next thing to change are our permalinks. So by default, for some reason, WordPress sets them to, I think it's the day and name one. We want to be using post name. We want to have our URLs as possible. We don't really need to have the month and the date in our URLs. We want that, keyword phrase, which is usually the name of the page or the name of the blog post, as close to the beginning of the URL as possible. So do this first, build the site, and then it's done. But if you have a site that already has 300 pages, change this now, because you're going to have to redirect every single page to the new URL. Does that make sense? The next thing is to set up Google Search Console. Now, who in the room has Google Search Console set up? Excellent. Such a great tool. And something that so many people don't use, so many small business owners aren't aware of it, they don't understand it. They've all heard of Google Analytics, but Google Search Console, you can test your sitemap, your robots.txt, you can see what keywords, all that keyword data that was taken out of AdWords that you now have to have an account running to see is in Google Search Console. You can see the keywords that people are using to find your site. You can see the traffic and the click-through rate on those. And it's always easier to rank for a keyword that Google already is aware of the connection for you with. If you already have a footprint, great place to do keyword research. So that up. And the first three checks that you want to do, let me just see if I've done it. No, I haven't. So the first checks that you want to do are obviously choose your preferred domain. So you're going with www or without. Obviously verify your site. And generally it will make you verify both versions, the with www and without. It's annoying, it's stupid, but just do it. Then you need to run your sitemap through it. So if you're using Yoast, onto it generates a sitemap for it, and then you need to test your .txt file. 3 little simple checks, and you're pretty much done. You can do a lot more with Google Search Console, but that's the first couple of things to do. So we know who here has Yoast. Anyone use all-in-one SEO? Yeah. So I think all-in-one SEO is great. They're just marketing as Yoast. So I used all-in-one SEO for 5 years, and then I got sucked in and moved over to Yoast. I used all-in-one. I used Data Transporter to move my data over. It's no better. In fact, often I think hell out of small business owners because they don't understand. All obsessed with the green light. Then another thing to do is to really have a look through the indexing tabs. So you can enable or disable the tags, the categories, the author archives, and the projects. So why is that important? Well, because often what WordPress does, as we know, is it creates pages out of tag archives, and category archives, and author archives. And those get crawled, and they use up our crawl budget. But really, they're not pages that we really want to be crawled. We don't want to drive someone to a tag archive. We want to drive them to this page about sausages, whatever it is, not the sausage tag. So it's often a good idea to disable those so that Google is only crawling the pages that you want it to crawl. I hope that makes sense. Cover it once a year. So it's worth going through and having a look at those. Talked about this, so choosing whether you want to go with the www or without. There's no difference from an SEO point of view. Having the www, not having the www doesn't make any difference. You just need to be consistent. So just choose one, set it here, and then set it in Google Search Console as well. Okay, let's talk about themes. So when we get to themes, look, as far as Google is concerned, it can't really see your theme. It doesn't care. The truth is that Google can't see your platform either. It doesn't care. So I had John Mueller from Google on my podcast, and I asked him, oh, Wix and Weebly, terrible for SEO. And he had to be very diplomatic. He said, we don't care. We don't know what platform it is. Of course they do. But we don't care. We're platform blind. It's the content and how crawlable and how fast the site is that we look at. So I know lots of people are down on Wix and Weebly, so we should be with the WordPress conference. But they're not as bad for SEO as everyone makes out. The main problem is you can't get into the site and you can't fix anything. That's the main issue. But in terms of themes, again, Google doesn't care. Some themes are fat and they take a long time to load. You have to make sure that the theme works well with the plugins that you're going to choose. I think it's a good idea to include one that has a page builder, good support, frequently updated, and obviously check the downloads rating and the reviews. So I'm a big fan of Divi. Anyone else like Divi? Yeah. Some people really hate it. So I love it. I use it across all my sites. So, and it sometimes conflicts a little bit with Yoast. So sometimes you're like, oh, I've got that keyword on my page. Why can't Yoast see it? But you know, Yoast is only a tool. I think they get carried away with how good Yoast is. It's just a tool. So here are my plugins, and you'll see not all of them I kind of got the word SEO in because they're treating problems that come with SEO. So obviously Yoast are all in one SEO. I don't have a preference. I use WordPress for security because obviously if your site gets hacked, it goes down, then Google will see that as a negative signal, and you could, if your site's not available for 2 weeks, that's going to cause issues. I use Backup Buddy. I like the WP Fastest cache. I've tried so many caching plugins. That's one I like. But do take the time to really look at the settings in that. Again, it's not something you can just install. You can really go through and make sure that it's working where you want it to work. I like Gravity Forms. The reason I've chosen these ones is they all work together. They don't get conflicts. They all work with Divi, and they all work with Yoast, all in one SEO. So you might have a different pool plugin that you love, but this is the reason I've chosen them. I like Google Analytics 9 Monster Insight. I love WP Smush. That smushes the file sizes of images. And if you pay for the paid plugin, it will keep smushing and retrospectively smush. It's a great little tool, so I'll get out the way. Really simple SSL. So if you're moving to HTTPS, really simple SSL will kind of connect the dots. It will connect the HTTP elements back to the HTTPS. It's a great little kind of like band-aid plugin. Simple 301 redirects. Does everyone know what a 301 redirect is? So, there's two shaking heads, I'll just quickly explain. So when you change a URL, even if you just change it a tiny bit, you've now created a dead version of that URL, which has nothing on it. So you always need to connect that back to the new version of the page. And you do that using a permanent redirect, a 301 redirect. That's what that tool will do. So a list of your old URLs and broken link checker is great. Again, it just sits there checking for broken links. Now, 404 errors are not part of the algorithm. They're not like if you've got 100 404 errors, your site is suddenly going to be de-indexed. But again, it's that thing of Google knowing that your site is being well maintained. So some 404 errors are inevitable, but try and fix up the ones that you can. And again, of course, you can pull all your 404 errors with page not found out of Google search methodology. Okay, so that's the technical bit in lightning speed. We're just going to talk a little bit about content now. So, great SEO content production isn't about finding the perfect keyword, it's about focus. So when it comes to using the keyword in the page, you've chosen your focus keyword, your primary keyword. These are the places you kind of need to use it. It's not that complicated. You pop it in the URL, as close to the domain as possible. Put it in your title tag, ideally at the beginning of the title tag, so front load your title tag with that keyword phrase. Pop it in the H1 if it makes sense, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels a bit awkward to put that keyword there. So you can pop it in a H2 or a H3. Try and use it in the first 100 words. Use it in the image file name. I'm sure we all know that with file names for images, use hyphens rather than underscores. Why? Because Google says. Pop it in the alt tag, and then try and use it in your internal link. So rather than having it wrapped around words like click here, actually have contextual linking. You are going to our Piglet Jumper page. Piglet Jumper is the link. It's that simple. So you've used your primary keyword in about 7 spots, and then after that you want to start using your synonyms so that your content is rich and interesting. We've all read those pages where we can see that they've just shoehorned the keyword in again. They're not enjoyable to read. They're not helping Google. It's oversaturation. So make sure that you always focus on writing for humans first. So just quickly talking about title tags, I think that as WordPress developers, when we get the content from the client, it's up to them to craft the titles and the meta descriptions, or their copywriter. I don't think it's a developer's job. We're not, unless you are a writing developer. But I think it's up to us to put them in. And one thing I've seen on a few dodgy WordPress developers is them saying, okay, I'm going to charge you $500 to add these title tags and meta descriptions, and it's an 8-page site. And because the customer doesn't understand, they don't appreciate that that's actually outrageous. And you can just go to the Yoast bulk editor, cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste, 10-minute job. So while I don't think we should write them, I do think it's our responsibility to fill them in. So we can tell our clients that their title tag should be about 70-ish characters, including spaces, 65 to 70. The keyword should be front-loaded. We don't want shopping lists. So remember we talked about focus. We need to pick one phrase, so Google's clear that this is our page about piglet jumpers. We don't want to have piglet jumper slash piglet jumper slash piglet knitwear slash piglet pullover. That's not a good title tag. It should be a full and complete sentence. It should be unique to the page. So again, one of the common problems I find is that every title tag is the same on every single page. It should be clickable. It's the first piece of copy anyone will ever read about your brand. So make it good. And it works. If the title tag is Batman, the meta description is Robin, they should work together. You don't repeat the copy that you wrote in the title tag in the meta description. Make it flow on. So again, it should be about 150 characters, including spaces. It should be different to the title tag. Unique. Again, many sites have the same meta description on every page, or no meta description. And then Google will just pull some random bit of copy out of the page. It should be a 2-line sales pitch. This piece of copy is going to be there with maybe 10 to 14 other results. Why would someone click yours? So important. SEO is not all about ranking. It's about getting people to click through and convert. So this is where a lot of people fall down. Okay, we're just going to move on. So one thing to say is that meta keywords, so we talked about titles and meta descriptions. The meta keywords tag is defunct, has been for ages. You don't need to fill it in. Don't worry about it. When you're in Yoast and you fill out that focus keyword, it's different to the meta keyword. So don't worry about meta keywords. But always with your copy, write for humans first and Google second. So I will think of a focus that I'm writing about, writing a press release or something. I will write my whole article, and then I'll go back and I'll just make sure I've ticked those boxes. I put those keywords in the right place. There's synonyms, it's rich, it's enjoyable. But I don't start out thinking, I'm going to write an SEO article that's perfectly optimized. I write a great article, and then I optimize. Just with images, obviously you want to name them intelligently. The number of sites that I go to, and the logo is called logo.png. At least have the decency to name it after the business. It says no hyphens. Don't read that. Use hyphens, not underscores. God knows why, it's just Google's preference. Make sure it's the correct dimensions. I know this is like, you know this, teaching you to suck eggs. But the number of sites I've gone to where it's a 2,000 by 2,000 pixel rendering is a 150 by 150 thumbnail. All that file size has to load before the site can load. And smush it. Make sure it's got a small K size. Smush it before you upload it, and use WP Smush as well. So finish off before we do Q&A. What do I think is reasonable as WordPress developers to include and charge for? And you can all tell me to F off, but this is my opinion. I think you should at the very least do all the setup things I've talked about. Install the plugins, install Yoast, disable some of the tag archives, choose my preference for the domain, set up Google Search Console, verify the site. I think that's all should be done. And I think you should ask them to provide the titles and the meta descriptions and put them in. And if they don't provide them, explain that that's bad. Yeah? So I think if you're doing content upload for clients, it can be quite time consuming. So again, I think that should be a separate cost. You build a site, you build a couple of pages, and that should then they have the opportunity. But again, make sure they understand how to do it. So I think training is something that everybody should do, even if it's just a half-hour video showing them around their site. I don't think developers should be claiming to do SEO copywriting. I think you probably could do it, but then you're taking on a lot of responsibility for making sure those pages rank, that you've done the keyword research, that you've chosen great keywords. And I think, I wish more clients would pay an ongoing fee to WordPress developers. It shits me. Like a monthly fee to update plugins, to make sure it's backed up, to make sure that, I wish they would. I wish everybody would have that package and they would explain to their clients why it's so important. The number of sites I see that have no backup plugin and no security. And then, yes, you just have to rebuild the site again. And of course you get paid for it, but it's frustrating rebuilding something you've already built. So I think that's something you should pay for. Okay, I'll stop talking. I've gone over. There you go. Questions? Q&A? Hello. Having what, sorry? I think Google's far intelligent enough to work out that 5 is the same as 5. Yeah. So.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
I'm curious to know your views on personalisation and how that's impacting on SEO. So we're seeing it with ads, which, not so much organic, but, if we search on some topic of biomass or something, the next few weeks we end up with ads all over the place and feel like we're being followed or stalked. How's that going with the organic search results?
It's such a good question because the truth is that none of us see the same results. Even when we go incognito on Google, Google still knows some stuff about us. You may have gone incognito and it's like, well, it still seems to know some stuff. It's still putting through. It's looking at your IP location. It's looking at other things. That's why I really try and move my clients away from stressing so much about ranking, because it's, it changes based on whether I'm in Melbourne, and not everyone, I'm in Melbourne, I'm going to get completely different results. I've visited the site before, I'm logged into YouTube, I've just been on Facebook, I've been cookied, I've been whatever. No one's seeing the same results. So personalization is everything. And that's why, I have #1 ranking, it's like, well, maybe you do here, at this time, on this day, with the month has an R in it, then you do. But it's a big impact.
Just going back to the 4 errors.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, I've got a client at the moment, and they quite regularly will remove products. Should I be telling them every time to redirect that to another page, or is it okay to leave some for it?
With e-commerce, the thing I find is that products come in and out of stock. And if I have an e-commerce store, and what I do is I leave the product there, and I have an out-of-stock message. So I think the question varies on whether they're going to ever bring that product back or not. So if they're never going to bring that product back, then I guess to be really anal, you would redirect that page to the category level page. But the truth is that unless that page has a lot of links pointing to it, so it has its own page authority and it's actually built up a footprint, probably doesn't really matter, and you can just over time leave them to expire and just ignore them. I'm quite anal, and I do like to redirect every single link. You kind of are, but you're also being very good. And but the thing is that, when somebody, say, has 4,000 404 redirects to do, I'm like, look at the ones that actually have some page authority. Look at the pages that are popular, that are coming up in Google Analytics, that have page time, and that have links pointing to them. Because then they have juice coming into them, and if you don't redirect them, that juice is going to evaporate. But if they have no links pointing at them, kind of, you could let them slide. Yeah. No worries. Hello.
Hello. If you've got people who want to have a crack at writing their own copy for their website, how do you coach them on the difference between just copywriting and SEO-focused copywriting?
You send them to my 10-day challenge course, and they can download my SEO coffee. Sorry, no advertising. Look, I think there are resources that you can send them to, but I just think you have to be very clear of, okay, you do that, that's not my responsibility. The same as a copywriter that tries to write copy for a bad site, and the client's having expectations suddenly going to rank, but the site was built poorly. You have built a great site and they write bad copy. So there are resources. I have heaps. Go to my site, got a course, it teaches them how to do title tags, copy decks, keyword research. It's a great starting point, but even then, they could still be crap. So you can only do what you can do, Hello.
What's your take on, from an SEO perspective, if you're updating your site to HTTPS? What do you do in Google Search Console? Do you have to have both versions?
Yeah, you have to re-verify, so you have to let Google know that you're now HTTPS, and you have to do both versions with the www and without. So you're adding extra properties. So you ultimately end up with 4 properties, which is a bit crazy, but that's doing it right. And then over time, when you've realized there are no errors. So when I moved to HTTPS, what I do is I kind of sit on my Google Search Console looking for 404 errors. And I would probably use something like Screaming Frog to crawl the whole site to make sure that the HTTP version pages aren't appearing anymore. They're all redirecting. But I have an excellent checklist on my site, which you're welcome to. It's all written down. But yeah, you have to do both. Hello.
Hello. Do search engines know or care about incoming links from mail?
From what?
Mail, like newsletters.
I think they do in terms of the traffic that they bring, but no, they're not gonna bring authority. Yeah, so links really have to be from real websites. If that makes sense. But I'm here in the break. If anybody has any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, sorry for everybody for having to cut this off. I know that it's very popular. I see everybody came in, and I know that it's a great topic. And please, again, feel free to ask during the break. Anytime you need me anywhere, just come up with me. Oh, yeah, just wherever it's the most inappropriate, she'll send you a cookie. So I just wanted to thank you very much for the organizers.